Are we live? Is this Glocktober already?
I just got the notification.
Is this the Lock and Load show? Yeah. Welcome to the Lock and Load show, and welcome to Glocktober.
This is the patent infringement show now.
No, it's not the patent infringement show.
Where's Dusty? Get him over here.
I sent him a link. So,
all right, cool.
So, yeah, I put up the usual links, then I go, oh, wait a minute. Dusty said he wanted one, so I'll send him one, whatever. And he was probably sleeping or avoiding his wife or something like that. hiding from his wife. All right. So let's see. Glocktober, Glocks. I saw that Strike Industries had like a new optic, and they also have a new flat trigger for Glocks. And there was some kind of some kind of blade fiber optic trigger, or not trigger, front sight post. So I'm interested in that. I liked the red dot on the front post of the Glock 5, but other than that, I didn't like the Glock 5. I like I'm used to square. I like square. It's hip to be square. And I don't know why they would switch to radiusing the corners and make it. I mean, it's like almost a circle, but not really. It's just.
Well, you're talking about the 19. It's got like.
Yeah, and they have a 45. Yeah, it's this is what a Glock is supposed to look like. It's supposed to be square. It's hip to be square. It's not. That's what when people see
is your finger in the trigger well. Get your finger out of there. There you go.
Yeah, and I'm muzzling you too, so I'm flagging you.
Well, I don't care if you're muzzling me. Just double. I guess you did it at the beginning of the show. Right? I can't remember. All right.
After arguing with you in the pre-chat about mindless stuff that nobody understood, that even you don't comprehend.
I never really argued against you. I was just trying to clarify Squib's.
Well, that's why the show started. Like you can't possibly clarify anything that Squib. I mean, anybody that doesn't like Casablanca has got a screw loose. Okay, so.
Well, I've never seen Casablanca, so.
Well, you like detective shows. Have you ever seen the Maltese Falcon?
Nope.
You've never seen the Maltese Falcon?
No. I have seen the Hill Street Blues, and I have seen Columbo. You probably ain't gonna find anybody else my age that has seen those two shows.
Columbo? It's on MeTV.
Kids don't watch TV anymore, HVS.
I know if it's not on, if they can't access it on their cell phone. Well, us adults watch TV. So, anyway.
I get basic cable.
Well, I have basic cable, and Columbo's on that.
Oh, I don't have that channel, but...
you don't have MeTV? Okay.
I don't think I do. Otherwise, I'd probably be watching it. I did just get the entire television show of Keeping Up Appearances in the mail.
Okay.
Do you know what Keeping Up Appearances is?
No.
It's a BBC television show.
BBC?
Yeah, I've watched quite a few. It used to be on...
Big Bad Corporation is what that is. Big Bad British Corporation.
Channels, whatever.
Bad British. Bad British crap. That's what's on there. Bad British crap.
It's crap that someone used to make me watch all the time, so...
Those evil parents of yours. So, yeah, I was going to say I watched like half of Ron Swanson's Surviving Life's last camping video. It was like an hour long. And I watched like a half an hour, and then I went to the pool, and then I went to Walmart to get my meds and supplies and stuff. And it's like and I got to the point where he was trying to start a fire with some pine tree sap that he just pulled off of a tree. and I think he couldn't do it. He had to wind up using his lighter, but I think he would have succeeded. He just wasn't paying attention to what he was doing, because I could see in the video that he had an ember going, but he just kept striking the striker on the tree sap, thinking it was going to erupt into a flame, which is not how it works. You need like a bunch of tinder. Once you get the ember going, then you have to just blow air onto it to get to ignite the tinder, and the tree sap doesn't just explode like gasoline or something. So it was just too much striking the ferro rod with an axe in the general direction of the sap after it was already an ember, and not paying attention to what you were doing. Because if it was like, if you had timber there, or not timber, tinder, then he could have just blown the ember onto the tinder and it would have ignited, but he didn't do that. So he gave up and used a lighter instead, which is probably what you should do in the beginning. I know you're trying to make a video where you're impressing people, but by starting a fire like they do on all the Discovery Channel survival shows. But if you want to impress me, use a fire saw. That'll
the Survivor shows. Oh yeah, I saw
Dual Survivor, Naked and Afraid.
Bear Grylls.
Oh, Bear Grylls. There's another British one. Anybody that goes to Alaska with Obama for a survival show doesn't count. You can't go on a survival show with like 20 Secret Service agents watching you. It just doesn't strike as real. I mean, I don't care if you know what you're talking about. It's like if you have 20 Secret Service guys backing you up, it just doesn't feel real. And it's not a reality show. I mean, yeah, I could survive with 20 Secret Service guys backing me up anywhere. But, I mean, if you got 20 guys with an MP5, and I'm sure they all have cigarette lighters and cell phones and know which number to call to get all the local call girls they want and stuff. I mean, because that's what the Secret Service does, I guess. But yeah. Speaking of which, now we're on to the Kavanaugh hearings. So, what did you think of the Kavanaugh hearings?
I think they should have been really grilling him on what he thinks the Fourth Amendment is, and all they did was make speeches about sexual assault or argue against it. And I think they really should have been asking him some serious questions about his career being a judge.
Well, you know, when when he was walking down the aisle on his way to the to be seated to where he gives testimony, they should have played in the background "Welcome to the Jungle" by Guns N' Roses.
Well, I mean, we know that here's my thing is I don't like it because they didn't ask him really anything about anything important as far as I believe. What happens is Democrats want to sandbag his ass, and if they can just sandbag him, get like a 6-month investigation, the blue wave, now we're speaking hypothetically, the blue wave hits, now they sandbag for another 2 years until they get their guy in or their woman in, and then all of a sudden they point of justice.
Jerry Brown just signed something law in California that's saying every corporation has to have at least one woman on the board.
Yes.
And I'm guessing the call girls don't count.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, okay. Here's the problem. First, they ought to take all the Democrat politicians in Washington D.C. and march them all up to the very top of the Statue of Liberty, and then just shove them off.
Well,
and then everybody on the NRA could bet on how high they bounce or where they land. And the splattered remains could be sold off auctioned off to be composted as biomass for GMO corn to make diesel fuel.
Well, I mean, they're all liars, and they all want more of them. Yeah, I bet if you were to get them offline somewhere where you can't, there's no cameras allowed and stuff like that, I bet they're all friends. Somebody
Who?
says they're friends. Like people who you see in the public eye appear to be like mortal enemies, Republicans and Democrats. I bet as soon as you go behind the scenes, it's not personal. You know what I'm saying? It's a dog and pony show, and we're the people who are getting dragged around.
Well,
So I don't believe that any of them really have our interest. And I'm not like a crazy, I mean,
no,
insane person. I just
they're all political whores.
when you watch anything, and it's like, really, dude, like this is an important thing. This guy has really doesn't give a shit about illegal search and seizure, and this is something that they need to be asking him fucking questions
I was
about.
honestly trying to figure out whether I should watch the hearings or like, go look at some pay-per-view porn thing because I don't know. It was just what struck me after listening to any of it is if you listen to the accuser, Miss Ford, uh, she's a professional PhD psychologist. And if you listen to her emotion throughout her entire testimony, it was one flat emotion of like, it was this like sobbing emotion, but it was flat. There wasn't any ups and downs. She wasn't angry. She wasn't sad. She had this one steady crying kind of emotion. And it was like, if you're a psychologist, you know how to do that. You listen to
Well,
Kavanaugh. If you listen to Kavanaugh testify,
yeah, he's crying and
it was
stuff, and
up. He was happy. He was sad. He was angry. He was pissed. But it wasn't flat.
yeah,
I
he
mean,
was
there were
crying. He
times,
was very emotional. Yeah, they
and
really hit
it
him there.
wasn't fake. And now,
But
if you've
but
ever
you gotta
been to,
understand.
and let me finish this whole thing. If you've ever
Go ahead.
been to college on a campus, they had you will get handed out from the psychology department. And if you're on campus, they'll hand out papers that ask for your permission to be in some kind of psychology test. And that's what this whole thing felt like, her whole testimony. So people on TV says, "Well, I'm not doubting that something happened to her." Well, I am. I think she's lying. I think she invented this whole thing, and she knows exactly. This is an experiment to her. This is like any other psychological experiment. She knows what not to do. She knows what people to look for. People will look for to see if somebody's lying, and she knew what not to do. And she knew how to create one steady, flat emotion. She was thinking about something that whole time because nothing changed. No matter what she said, whether she was being gang raped with a broom or she was just walking in and or just driving up in a car, she had one steady emotion through the whole thing, and it felt like a psychology experiment in college. So that's what I think it was for her. She's and when they step forward, erase their entire social media history, and then say, I want to accuse this guy of something that happened 40 years ago, and then they come on with this. It was
Well,
fake.
so
It
that's
was
not how it
fake.
happened. She didn't just say it. There's a whole story behind it.
Well, I can write a story just better than she
Well,
can.
well, so all right, whether it's fake or not, it is clearly being used as a political tool because
Yeah,
of the way now,
these are
her son,
base
her
political sluttery.
her
This whole
son
thing.
posted it. So what happens is her son supposedly let the cat out of the bag, and then she rolled with it, and then they're doing, they moved along with it, and now they're where we're at. But I mean, it is such a perfect ace in the hole to use as a political strategy, and
I
that's
mean, the
why.
worst part of it is we're watching Dianne Feinstein talk. Her face will make anybody, any man, like never want to have sex with a woman ever again. Just look at Dianne Feinstein's face. It's like, my God, that could just turn you off to women for life. Looking at her face, talking about anything.
Now, like I said, I'm not really a fan of Kavanaugh, so I don't really give a shit. But I mean,
Well, we're supposed to be fighting for our Second Amendment rights here, whether we like people or not.
Yeah, well, he fucking tramples the Fourth Amendment, so.
Well, we never got to talk about judicial philosophy because it was all about his high school yearbook, what he wrote in his high school yearbook, how much he drunk in high school. I mean, I could drink everybody in Congress under the table.
Well, I will tell you one thing. It's upsetting normies. I know that for a fact. Normies who. Now, do you understand what I mean by that?
Upsetting normals?
Normies, yes, because
I didn't even know there was such a thing as normies.
Well, the normies are the people who don't really give a fuck. They're just like everyday people who aren't really into one side of things. Like if you said the word Peruta to them, they'd be like, "What the fuck did you just call me?" But what happens is I'm starting to see posts from people who aren't like who are acquaintances and they're tired. Like literally, they're posting memes that say, "This is not a political post." So people are really getting tired of seeing, this shit. I mean, other people have doubled down. Other people are saying, I stand with Dr. Ford or whatever. We need to murder every Republican. Somebody did say that we need to round every Republican up and just kill every single one of them. He's been banned from Twitter several times because he threatens Trump's family on Twitter constantly. So someday that dude might disappear, but.
Right. So. Okay. I need to show this image, but if you ever plan on, well, this will probably turn you off for a while, but here, let's see if I can get this picture up.
Is it going to raise my blood pressure?
No, I mean, hopefully it'll make you laugh. It's just, I gotta find it first, this stupid thing.
I gotta get my phone charger. My phone's gonna die here.
Oh, you're on your phone today? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I need to bring up some, have my cryptocurrency moment later. Speaking of plugging in things. Where is this? What is the name of this file? Okay, right, thumbnail. Got to try and find this file called thumbnail. Oh, here it is. Open with photo gallery. Fourth Kavanaugh accuser comes forward. Right, here it is. Screen share button. Here's a picture of the fourth Kavanaugh accuser.
Oh, yeah, I do this meme already.
Oh, you seen this meme?
Of course. I live in memes, so.
You live in memes? All right. Well, I don't get them. My dad emailed me this one. And this is a weird picture for your dad to email you, believe me. This is the world we live in. How do I get out of this thing before? Okay, it's gone. Sorry. Sorry for those of you who ever planned on having sex, and I'm sorry.
There's been some good memes lately.
I mean, personally, I did a lot of dumb things in high school, but I wouldn't remember if I had sexually assaulted someone. He doesn't strike me as somebody who would do that no matter how drunk he was. So, but what I didn't believe was her entire testimony because of her flat emotion, because she's a professional psychologist and she knows how to do that. And they're used to conducting experiments on people, and that's all they do. Just hand out. They conduct experiments on people and write about them. So she's like the Dr. Mengele of false sex accusations, as far as I can tell.
All right.
And it's all an evil plot to not let us have guns. Is what it is. Because they know the banking system is going to fail.
Well, you would think the Democrats would like him because of his take on the Fourth Amendment.
Well, they're basically, it didn't matter who he nominated. They were already, it was just, I think somebody sent out, one of the Democratic organizations sent out, like right away, as soon as the Trump nominated Kavanaugh, they sent out a opposition email to everybody and his uncle and his brother.
Mazie Hirono there sent out a thing right after the.
And except it had the name was blank. The person that they were objecting to was blank. They didn't fill it in with any. We generally, and it's Mazie Hirono is another piece of work.
Did you hear she was fundraising off of it?
Well, this is Hawaii, and it's not just the politicians. It's not just the politicians that are left-wing morons. It's the people. I mean, they don't know no better, I guess. And with the Hawaiian educational system being at what it is.
Did I tell you that I know a dude who moved out of Hawaii? And the school system he moved to thought he was retarded. They literally, because he spoke pidgin, this was like probably like 40 years ago. They literally thought he was mentally retarded. And they put him in a sped class.
Well, that's people can jump to the wrong conclusion about that kind of thing. When I came out of my heart surgery, I basically I couldn't get up out of bed, right? So because my chest was like sawed in half, and so not being able to get up out of bed, I asked the nurse, like, okay, how do I go to the bathroom? And not even knowing anything about my case or not even having looked at the chart, she just immediately jumped to the conclusion that I had a stroke and was retarded or something. What do you mean you don't know how to go to the bathroom? No, I can't get out of bed. How am I supposed to take it? It turned out it didn't matter whether I could get out of bed because they pumped so much morphine into me. It was like the morphine just freezes your bowels for like 10 days, and you couldn't take a crap no matter what, no matter how much you eat for 10 days after that operation, because it's the morphine just kills your digestive system and everything else pretty much. And because they pump so much of it in you. So basically, I held it in for 10 days, and then finally there was this explosion, earth-shattering explosion in the bathroom. And but yeah, the educational system here kind of sucks, but they want to pass some new tax. They want to have a constitutional convention here in Hawaii to pass some, do what they did in Illinois, where they basically pass a tax. They want a new property tax to tax property owners to raise more money for the teachers.
Children.
Yeah, raise our taxes for children.
If you don't, you're just a sick, terrible person who doesn't care about the children.
Yes,
Kids have been shot at schools. You don't care about the children. You're a monster. Monster.
It's like, what do they think is going to happen to property values if they do that? And what they did in Chicago school system is they gave the teachers like $1 million retirement pension. And it just that they never bothered to pass any taxes because they had a constitutional convention. And in the state constitution, the state of Illinois has to pay the teachers' pensions before anything else. So if the teachers don't get paid, the teachers union can go to the court, any court, and say they didn't pay us, or order the court, issue a writ of mandamus, or to order the state of Illinois to pay the teachers their $1 million pensions. And the state politicians passed the constitutional amendment, they passed the pensions, but they never funded the pensions. So why would they bother? So a judge can issue a writ of mandamus ordering the state of Illinois to do it, but if the state of Illinois ain't got the fucking money, this is how socialism. This is where countries die from socialism.
Well, it's good intentions. I mean, what is it? The path of
the road to hell is paved with good intentions. There was a great Deep Space Nine episode about that called "In the Pale Moonlight." So if you ever want to watch that, that's if you're with it's Captain
I've seen probably almost every episode of Deep Space Nine.
That's the one where Captain Sisko wants to draw Romulus into the war against the Dominion, and so he asks for Garrick's help, the Cardassian tailor / spy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, should I do a spoiler alert on this? Okay, spoiler alert. Don't listen to the next 60 seconds if you want to hear how it ends. Basically, Sisko invites a Romulan senator to Deep Space Nine to look at some forged Cardassian data rod of a meeting where the Dominion is supposed to be plotting to attack Cardassia. He figures out, the Romulan senator figures out it's forged, and then he's going to go home to Romulus and denounce Sisko as a fraud, and then on his way back, his Romulan shuttle explodes because Garrick blew it up. and then Sisko goes into the tailor shop to beat up Garrick, and Garrick says, "If you just stop beating on me, I'll explain to you why this was a good thing. It's because you just saved the Alpha Quadrant, and all it cost was the life of one criminal who forged the data rod, one Romulan senator, and the self-respect of one Federation officer, and you just saved the entire Alpha Quadrant. Now that's a pretty good deal." And so it was about ethics in war and stuff, but yeah. What were we talking about?
Socialism and why.
Well, this doesn't have anything to do with socialism, but it was the road to hell being paved with good intentions, because every step, because all Sisko did was ask for Garrick's help to convince Romulus, and the reason, and everything Garrick asked Sisko to do to convince the Romulans to declare war on the Dominion, everything just, it got worse and worse and worse. First thing was he had to he had to get a prisoner pardon to the guy he wanted. I mean, it was just, everything he did was worse and worse and worse. But you can look at Venezuela if you want to see what socialism is turned out to be. And well, here's the whole thing where we get into cryptos. Go ahead, you're going to say something.
Well, yeah, that's the best thing, because they've raised the minimum wage like over 20 times.
Yeah, to keep up with their hyperinflation.
Yeah, because they need to do that, and they want to do the whole living wage thing, and he just complete mismanagement. But go ahead, segue into cryptos.
Well, in Venezuela, they've arrested like people who run restaurants or sandwich shops for charging like 10 million bolivars for one sandwich for price gouging, but it's just keeping up with inflation, really.
That's a huge thing. There's that one dude in was it during Katrina? He bought 12 or 13 generators, and he drove like a couple states over, and he was selling them for double the price. And he went to jail for that because they said he was price gouging. It's like, well, he cuffed a shitload of money, he rented a truck, and he drove into a place that was dangerous. Like, he can't get paid extra money for that. He was providing people with a service.
If you want to
of
make
the
money
generators.
during the shit hits the fan situation, just buy a bunch of cigarettes now and sell them then. Okay, because you'll pretty much be able to get anything you want because people are addicted to that shit. They can't live without it.
Well, what I'm just getting at is like they got him for price gouging, and people up and down want to kill him, and people are pissed at him. It's like, but other people who have houses and who have responsibilities to take care of are like, we fucking love this guy. He brought like 14 or 12 generators over here. We needed that generator, and there was no other generators available. So,
well, as
price
someone who
gouging isn't
doesn't
always
own
good.
one, I mean, I can't really use a generator in my condo. I'd die of carbon monoxide poisoning. But when I get out of this place, if I ever get out of this place, it's the first thing I'll ever do is get a generator. Anyway, so we're going to transition into cryptos. All right, so Box Mining did a review on the box unboxing of the new Trezor Model T, which is basically a hardware wallet. So if you want to take all your cryptos off your software wallet or off an exchange, which is really dangerous, because when the banks go down, the exchanges go down. And you can just have a little hardware wallet called the Trezor T. And there's a few other ones. This one is kind of expensive. It's got a bigger screen, but it's basically just a little device just for storing cryptos. And so you could like put it in a EMP proof bag, like I have one of those, or turn an old microwave into a Faraday cage, and just store all your cryptos there until, if the grid goes down, until it comes back up, plug it in. And so I think Italian bonds hit an all-time low today, and after hitting another all-time low on Friday. And basically what they are saying about Italy is that it's too big to fail and it's way too big to save. And how many countries are going to go down? How many countries does it take to go down before the banking system does? Because they're all connected with these big bets called derivatives, which is basically what it is. It's a bet, and when the Dodd-Frank law passed after the 2008 banking crisis, basically the laws changed so that if a bank goes down, the depositors are last to get paid. The first people to get paid are like the bank CEOs with their golden parachutes. They'll get paid first. Then the derivative holders get paid first. And because there's like multi-quadrillion dollars in derivative debt, nobody will get paid because they can't. There's not enough money on the planet to pay the derivative holders in this world. It's all third party, and all the banks are connected by that. So if one bank goes down like that, they all go down. And it's just a question of time. Don't know when, but everything's starting to shimmy and shake. So I'm right now. Let's see. I'm getting paid out in Dash every day from my Genesis mining contracts. I bought some.
Did you say Daesh?
Dash, not Daesh, not the ISIS. Digital cash, also known as dark coin, but no, not Daesh, not the terrorists. Are you trying to get me flagged or something?
No, it sounded like you said that from my end. It's probably just the hang up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Dash is a kind of it's an offshoot of Bitcoin. It's one of the original forks of Bitcoin, but it's almost like a privacy coin a little bit, but it's one of the original coins. And so they have I spent $98 for a Dash mining contract, like 3,000 meta hash of Dash mining, X11 Dash mining for $98, which is a lot cheaper than it used to be. because I think I bought 20 hash of Dash X11 mining like 2 years ago for like $115, and so now it's like 3,000 meta hash. So, but never mind that. What I really did that made a difference was because the Bitcoin has gone down in value and the mining difficulty has gone up as far as Bitcoin, and I have 5.5 terahash of Bitcoin mining, SHA-256 on Genesis. So because the difficulty has gone up and the value of Bitcoin has gone down, it wasn't covering the maintenance fee because they take like 28 cents out of every for every terahash you have up for electricity and maintenance and stuff, and it wasn't even covering that. So what they did was, because a lot of people have these contracts, was they let you pay, if you want to pay like 6 months of just 28 cents for every terahash per month, or I forget what it was, but so it came to a couple $100 if I want to see the output of whatever it is. So basically, if it becomes worthless, the mining contract becomes worthless because if Bitcoin goes down to where it is now at 6,500-ish, then the payout would have been nothing if I didn't cover the maintenance cost. So, but I paid them a couple $100 for like 6 months worth of maintenance, and so I'll get some. I've been getting paid out in that in Dash, and that's pretty much all I'm doing is sitting back and collecting Dash and trying not to run up any personal debt before the banking system collapses at all.
Wouldn't it be better to have debt when it collapses? Then you don't have to worry. No,
it'll be worse, because if you own, like, here's the whole thing. Like, let's say you want to buy a house right now. The reason the property on real estate goes up is because banks keep printing money and shoving it into the system. They print and create the money with the open market system and fractional reserve banking. And so they just shoved billions and trillions of dollars into the economy so that the banks can write you a home loan so you can go out and buy like $1 million house, which like 3 months ago was like 800,000. And so they just keep shoving more money into the economy, and the prices keep going up. And when the banking system freezes, that all stops. And then yeah, your $1 million house is it's only worth what somebody can pay for it, and there's no money in the banks. So so what will happen is what happened. Look what happened during the 2008 crisis, and the next one will be worse. But what happened is people got caught in homes that was underwater. They weren't worth what they owed. They were just underwater mortgages, and some people walked away. Some people didn't stop bothering to make payments anymore, and there's still zombie. Some banks went under, zombie banks, zombie mortgages, and so there was abandoned properties, and so you don't want to have this debt, because the cost of money is going to go up. If they have to create some kind of new money, whatever it is, they're not going to cancel out your debt. They might cancel out the government's debt. They might cancel out a banker's debt, but they're not going to cancel out, like, if you owe money on your credit card or a mortgage. You're going to have. You're going to pay that through the nose.
Shit hit the fan. I figured you were heading more towards shit hit the fan.
Well, the banking system collapsing is shit hitting the fan, and it's the apocalypse that's staring us in the face. Is the massive amount of debt on this planet. And it really is. So that's why I have gold, I have silver, I have some cryptos, I've got guns, ammo, and food preps. I'm not just one dimensional. It's not just the least thing I have of on this planet is crypto, but I don't have none. And so I consider people that have none unprepared, because, I mean, it's if the fiat currency system disappears overnight, then the only thing there's nothing ready to replace it except cryptos, and that's what they were invented for in the first place. So. Uh, it's hard to predict the future. I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't do investment advice on this show. I'm just saying I feel better having some cryptos, and since you can't even legally, nobody can legally operate an exchange in the state of Hawaii the way things are. In a couple other states, that's the case. I have these crypto mining contracts, and I get paid out every day for basically doing nothing. And I just new cryptos appear in my wallet, and I'm pretty happy with the way things are on that. So, but like I said, it's just one of the preps that I have. I consider it a prep for the banking system collapsing, and it just look how many countries are like near going down. Argentina was just bailed out with the IMF, and they couldn't get money fast enough. And Argentina isn't a socialist country; they're a capitalist country. It was just a monster amount of debt, and their whole currency was about to collapse, and the country was about to collapse. And the IMF bailed them out because they aren't like a fascist Venezuela communist state. They were just and I don't know what Italy has been called a lot of things by a lot of people, especially Italians, but I think it's considered what it was described to me as that made sense. It's complete anarchy tempered by bureaucracy, and the bottom line is the banks are insolvent, the government bonds are worthless. It's just massive amounts of debt, and all these banks are connected. And basically today they were talking about Italy being the next Greece. And it literally is too big to fail, a country like that. In the middle of Europe, it'll take down the ECB and the whole banking system if it goes under. And so anyway, I don't know what this has to do with Glocktober, but because I wanted to talk about guns on this show, and we started off with a pre-chat stuff about what a copyright is, and we've been spinning out of control. I'm gonna look at the external chat for a minute, see if anybody's out there talking or chatting away. I think Steve said he's coming to visit Hawaii. Anyhow, let's see if I can make my way over to that page. Oh God, I got to get this picture of Obama off of here. It's bad.
Yeah, it's not a very good meme. I saw some much better memes kicking around.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's better than just looking at Dianne Feinstein's face. I mean, Jesus, that's terrible.
And the last meme where I seen her on it, they compressed the photo so much that you couldn't really see her face.
Showing her face ought to be like some kind of crime. I mean, they ought to have given Kavanaugh a blindfold and a cigarette for that hearing. Let's see. All right, well, I just see Steve out there right now. So anyway, let me know. Shoot me an email or a message or something. Let me know when you're visiting Kona. I'll hook up at Quinn's Bar, maybe at Quinn's Pub. It's a little restaurant down right across from the ocean. It's about a block from my house, and I think they have Irish whiskey there, so that'll be good. Let's see. Check if there's anybody on the gun channel side. If anybody's probably not. It usually isn't. Pretty vacant. All right. I think this Coke needs some more Jack Daniels. Stand by while we add the elixir of life to this pint.
Yeah.
Probably need a few more ice cubes too, but whatever. Woo! That feels good. Right, so let's just talk about Glocks for a little bit. I guess everybody knows I've got a Glock 17 here in Hawaii. When I was visiting Arizona, I carried a Glock 30 around, except for when I went to the local pubs to go out, because Scotch whiskey and Glocks pretty much don't mix. I mean, if I'm here in my house, whatever, but definitely I don't want to carry when I'm planning on drinking like 20 shots of Scotch whiskey. And basically, I went out to the Prescott Whiskey Row, and the Whiskey Row pub there has lots of pretty lady waitresses, not waitresses, bartenders. All the bartenders are pretty girls there, and so I just sat at the bar and sipped Glenlivet and did Glenlivet shots all night. So I left my Glock at home, but for the rest of the time, during the daytime, and I was carrying around the Glock 30, and I like that one a lot because it's 45 ACP, and that's like a kind of a monster round. I think we were talking about 45 ammo on one of Dead Horse's shows, and I was mentioned that I went down to the local shop, and I bought some gold dot 45 ACP, a box of that, because that's all they had, because after Hurricane Lane blew through here, all the inter island barges are still fucked up, and he hasn't got his shipments that were supposed to be here like before the hurricane, because all the shipping container ships and inter island barges got sent north of the island and out of the harbor, so nothing got unloaded or loaded onto the right ships or anything. So it's still screwed up, and he hasn't got his last ammunition shipment into the local Kona gun shop. And so I had gone there to buy 45 ACP, because of all the ammo that I have, that's the one I have the least of. So I just bought one box of Spirit Gold Dots. I usually don't use hollow points. And I think somebody said, well, yeah, most other rounds aspire to use a hollow point to make as big of a hole as a 45 ACP would, just a flat full metal jacket. And so, yeah, having 45 ACP with a hollow point is like, well, I don't really need to, like, if I have to shoot a bad guy, I don't need to see the sunshine through the bullet hole before his corpse hits the ground. I mean, how big of a hole do you need to make?
You just need to kill him.
Yeah, you need to stop the threat. And
I've used an argument for many years, and I understand that you could easily argue against it, but how many years did police forces use calibers less than 32? There's World War One. Think of how many guns. I understand that's an officer's pistol. Probably wasn't used much, but let's just say how many police forces in the world were using rounds that we wouldn't even think of today as duty weapons, or for duty weapons, or.
Well, they went back to the 9mm now with hollow points. So
I'm talking about like the crap, like 25 and 32. Like how many?
Well, the British officer's weapon was the Webley 38, right?
Well, I mean, you're talking British, but I'm talking like there's a lot of other gun companies, manufacturers that made like the first semi-automatics, or what they called autos at the time. the first automatic pistols, self-loading pistols, a lot of them were in like terrible calibers that we wouldn't even like. Oh, 25 for self-defense? Like, what are you nuts? Or 32? You know, I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just making a point that shitty, terrible calibers that we wouldn't even think of have been used in law enforcement roles.
Yeah,
So
well, people get more sophisticated, and I guess I don't know. Maybe a criminal wouldn't be impressed by a 22 pistol, but I don't
dude,
know.
German police used what did they use like a 25 or a 32 for years? I thought it was
Oh,
like
the
what the heck?
Luger wasn't the Luger 9 millimeter.
No, the Luger was 9 mil, but I'm talking about another pistol. Some other. I mean, there's been like a bunch of pistols that we would think of. Like you would spit in their face. Like I wouldn't use anything under a 9 millimeter. What are you nuts? But I mean, you just have to be good with shooting. It's like if you use a 380 for whatever reason. If you were to carry a 380, let's say I don't know, you're in
I have
2020,
one.
right?
A
Let's just say
380
you
will.
can't. Yeah, but you cannot shoot them in the arms. If you shoot them and it hits their arms, it's gonna stop in their arms. So
Well, it could go
I
through.
mean, you're just gonna have to practice. I mean, and I'm not saying you need to have the biggest rounds. I'm not saying you need to have the small. I mean, you should get whatever the hell you want to get, but try them all. I mean, that's what I say. I've carried the Glock 30. Um,
Well, I have a LC 380, and it would stop a threat. I mean, but I wouldn't use a pistol unless I was like point blank, pretty much. I mean, or close to it, because I'm not that great of a shot with pistols. I mean, I know some people who are really good shots. I'm not one of them. I'm a good shot with a long gun. I'm not that great with pistols.
I just
So
got better with pistols. I passed the Massachusetts police qual, so woo! I've got better. I was pretty bad with them too.
yeah, well, it's just something that's hard to practice around here because we don't have an indoor range or an outdoor range or a range at all. So, and it's illegal to shoot those in the hunting area. You can only shoot hunting caliber weapons. So, uh, if you follow the
If
hunting
you
regs,
had insane amounts of money, if let's say if you is there like if you were to get a couple acres, would you be able to shoot on your own land?
you need more than 2 acres, dude.
Oh boy.
I mean, it depends where the acres were. I mean, if you have to be up against the back of a subdivision, basically, 2 acres would be fine if you're up against the back of the subdivision. And you're in the middle of a subdivision, forget it.
Yeah,
um,
I mean you could always build like a double shed, and then that would suppress the you're shooting like 22 shorts or 22 longs that would suppress the
well, I don't. I'm not into 22s anymore. I mean, I never was. I mean, I had one once and I threw it away. But that's a whole nother story. I don't want to go into. I don't want to tell the. I've already told that the whole paint gun story in Malibu came to McCree too many times. But
yeah. If you got nothing else to practice with and you're bored, the 22s can be fun. Because you're still putting your booger hook in the bang switch.
that's one. That's in a. You got to copyright that. Speaking
It's
of
good. Yeah.
movies, I saw. I didn't know that John Banner and William Werner Klemperer had been in a movie before Hogan's Heroes, and I saw them in one. They've been playing all the Nuremberg stuff, and there was Colonel Klink and Sergeant Schultz, those actors, John Banner and William Klemperer. They were in together in a film called Operation Eichmann, and the actor who plays Colonel Klink played Adolf Eichmann, and they were good playing off each other. And it was, I think Turner Classic Movies has been playing all the Nuremberg trials kind of historical stuff, including Judgment at Nuremberg, and there was some footage from like a 15 or 20 minute short that the War Department's Justice Advocate General's office put together in 1940 something for when they were actually prosecuting the Nuremberg trials, to try and explain to people why they didn't just shoot them or hang them. Is because no, they wanted to expose everything that they did in a real trial with real lawyers and real judges. It wasn't just going to basically the Soviets and the Allies had an agreement before the war had ended on how to prosecute these people. I forgot what it was called, but so they've been planning all that stuff, and Operation Eichmann was one of them. But I didn't know they had been in the movie before. So when I guess Bing Crosby's company cast for Hogan's Heroes, I mean, they probably saw Operation Eichmann, and those two guys were great off each other. And I know John Banner had been in 1, 2, 3. He did comedy, but so in the first movie that they were in, they did serious roles where Colonel Klink was Adolf Eichmann, and Sergeant Schultz was his military assistant or something, and that was a lot more of a serious movie. It wasn't a comedy. But it's just funny how they transition. They're just actors. You can't be mad at every German for what happened. I mean, but it's like if you watch the Nuremberg trials, I think the Spencer Tracy's is dating this German lady, and he's like one of the judges at the trial. The German lady saying, "You can't actually think that we knew what was happening, can you?" And Spencer Tracy says, "As far as I can tell, nobody in this entire country had any idea what was happening. Nobody knew what was happening, because nobody was going to admit to what was happening. If they knew it, nobody's going to." So it's like, you can tell me that nobody knew, because nobody's going to admit that they knew. But it's just insane that this could be going on and nobody could know. That's just impossible. So, I wanted to describe Judgment in Nuremberg for those who haven't seen it. Just as a movie, it's not fun to watch. It's spellbinding to watch, especially Burt Lancaster. When Burt Lancaster gets up and he's playing Ernst Janning, and he testifies. He wants to testify as to why he's guilty, and his lawyer's trying to get him to shut up. And he's saying, he basically says why he's guilty, and it was spellbinding. It's not a fun movie to watch. It's not funny. It's not, but it's one of those movies that they have a message that there was dialogue that needed to be said, and so they put it in this film. And it's an all-star cast. Spencer Tracy, Burt Lancaster, William Shatner has a bit role, Marlene Dietrich, Richard Whitmark plays the prosecuting attorney, and William Klemperer is in this one too as Emil Hand, and so it's one of those movies that it's spellbinding, but it's not fun to watch at all. It's spellbinding. Once you start watching, you almost can't stop, and it gets more and more spellbinding the more you go into it. But especially if you knew anybody that was involved in World War II in Europe. And, anyway,
pretty good.
Yeah, but it's not a fun movie to watch. It's not. It's just you can't stop watching it once it really starts into it. Anyway, I didn't buy. I walked by the solo Star Wars thing. It was like $25 for Blu-ray. I didn't buy it. I bought a $3.50 DVD of a Kurt Russell Western. I think it was called Hawk bone or a bone hawk or tomahawk bone or something like that. I haven't looked at it yet. I just got home and threw it on the stack of DVDs before I started the show. So you'll have something nice to say about it next week. I mean, obviously the Kurt Russell movie that everybody knows him for, as far as the Western, was Tombstone. He plays Wyatt Earp.
Yeah, I think Kurt Russell had a huge collection of guns at NRA.
I could believe that.
Like they had like a Hollywood section where they had a bunch of Hollywood guns, and a bunch of Kurt Russell Western guns were in there. But the one I laughed the most at was the fake quote unquote G36 from the Vin Diesel Triple X movie. It's not a G36. It's a shitty plastic replica of the XM1, the H&K XM1 concept.
You'll probably have to do a screen share. You'll probably have to do a screen share for me to know what you're talking about.
Oh, it's just.
And again, you're on your cell phone, right? So you can't even do that.
Yeah, it's a gun that it's a gun that looks futuristic from the 90s. And one exists in this country, and it's not original as far as I know.
You're kind of like roboting a little there, Jared.
All right.
Well, I think the science fiction gun that I liked the best was the one from Logan's Run, where it has those blue flames that shoot out in 4 different directions when they fire it. The Sandmen have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember what they call that, but it was pretty cool. They couldn't always get it to work consistently. So they had some problems shooting the films because it didn't always work when you pulled the trigger. The flames didn't always deploy. So they had to do a lot of retakes. But it looked cool on film, which is all that counts.
Surprised they wouldn't do that if it's screwed up. I'm surprised they just didn't try to do something post-production.
Can you get your mic to work better or something? Because it's just not working.
It goes out sometimes. I can't help it.
Yeah, right now it's going out more often than not. Well, if Squibb has anything he wants to talk about, we talked about Kavanaugh for a while, but I know you said you wanted to talk about that in one of your texts. If you can talk, if you made it home in one piece.
Kavanaugh.
Oh, you don't want to talk about him? Okay.
I mean, it's what they're doing is it's I'm not even
base
sure
political sluttery.
So the first thing is I don't really care about some of the things that people are saying about the guy, both for and against him. He was the guy that was nominated. What they're doing to try to discredit him is maybe unprofessional, unethical. If they should discredit him, they should discredit him by his voting record. They should discredit him by maybe something he did as a professional businessman or something like that.
If they want to discredit him, they should get him into a lobby with Yankee Marshall and then.
Well, Yankee Marshall already said what he said about him. Yankee Marshall said, I don't like the guy, therefore he's guilty. Because I'm the Yankee Marshal and I know more than everybody else. And I mean, I'm not exactly sure.
Yankee Marshall insult here.
Well, I mean, I'm not exactly paraphrasing the guy. Honestly, I'm condensing it down to real. Yankees thing is I don't like the guy because of the Patriot Act and something else. So But Yankee kept saying, he's guilty, he's guilty, he's guilty. But that's what he does. I'm right, everybody else is wrong because I'm the Yankee Marshal. And
I'm waiting to insert. I'm chopping at the bit to insert.
This is what he said, though. He said, I'd have more respect for the man if the man just came out and admitted it. And I was thinking, and I'd have more respect for you if you would quit saying he's guilty and just say you hope they find him guilty because you just don't like him. So he was being a hypocrite on air, as usual. Hey, whatever. The thing is, though, he's got all these followers that listen to everything he say and think he speaks the gospel. So there's going to be all kinds of people that don't care about the way that they're going about just discrediting him, and they're just going, well, Yankee says I don't like him, so you know what? I guess I don't like him either, instead of making up their mind for themselves. I'm not one of these guys who says this guy he's a perfect human being, he's a model citizen, and I'm also not one of these guys going, he's guilty. He just is. I think what this is going to do is this is going to discredit any testimony by any true rape victim or sexual assault victim in the future. I also think that, if anything, sexual assault or assault in general is going to become even more of a broad term. If you punch somebody in the face, that's considered assault. But pretty soon it'll be a dirty look being considered assault.
Assault and battery. I mean, punching in the face.
Whatever. What I'm saying is, look, couple teenage kids at a party, they're drinking, they make out in the hallway, and it's sexual assault. Really? No, it's not. But
sexual assault is having to look at Dianne Feinstein's face.
No, eventually that'll be, if you look at a woman and smile because she's attractive and you're just smiling, it'll be sexual assault in no time because of this. So I think it's going to have a twofold effect. Yeah. People aren't going to believe true victims, and they're going to broaden the definition of some of these crimes. I don't think any good came out of this.
Yes, well, Yankee Marshal is a cross-eyed, cross-dressing tranny. Okay, so whatever. I don't know if you're ever.
I don't think. Look, the man is entitled to his.
Yankee Marshal, like you said, you need to go down to the clinic and have yourself checked out. You probably caught some strange disease.
The man is entitled to his opinion, but everybody thinks he's brilliant because he wins arguments. He wins arguments by playing the same dirty pool. He plays the same dirty pool that these politicians are playing, and that's how he wins an argument. If you're talking
Yankee
about
argument,
subject,
Yankee hasn't won an argument that I've ever. He just keeps talking. He might do more insults than somebody else. He might insult people more, but as far as winning an argument, no. I've never seen him win an argument. I've never seen him win an argument.
If your definition of winning the argument is being correct or having a more compelling opinion, that's not what he does. He doesn't go in there with... Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes the guy has actual knowledgeable facts, and other times he just pulls shit out of his ass.
Even a broken clock is right once a day or twice.
So I'm not saying he's never right. I'm not saying he's never got facts on his side. I'm never saying his experience doesn't ever come in. But otherwise, though, if you count wearing down the other side or getting the most people to agree with you as winning the argument, then he wins arguments. If you're talking about actually having facts or a really compelling opinion on something, he doesn't have that. No. But just how many other people are feeling that way? They're like, well, I don't like the guy's politics, so therefore he's guilty until proven innocent. To hell with due process,
What I said early in the show when you had roboted off because you were driving home was that I didn't believe the Ford's testimony because she's a psychologist. She does psychological experiments, and her voice, her emotion was one monotone all the way through her testimony. It never fluctuated. It never went up or down. She wasn't more or less angry or sad or crying more or less. She was clearly focused on projecting one emotion throughout her entire diatribe. Her testimony was it never cheered her. It was monotone. It was a monotone of emotion. It never went up or down. It was fake. It was falsified testimony.
If when she was 15, she didn't report this because she didn't want to get busted for drinking underage at a party, or she felt shame. After she became a professional doctor, a grown woman, an educated person and an adult, and she should have done something, not waited this long. The fact that she waited this long is the first thing that discredits her. And then the next thing is, the lack of credible eyewitnesses, people saying stuff to the contrary, and then the way she gave her testimony and stuff like that. Also, her political leanings, and the fact that Pelosi held on to it for how many weeks?
Didn't she delete her social media before she made her accusation? I mean, don't they all delete their social media before they make their accusation?
The other thing too is if she was that traumatized by this because she thought this guy was some sort of predator, and she didn't report him for all this time, after a reasonable amount of time where she grew up and got her head out of her butt and said, oh my goodness, he might be doing this to other people. If he had done it to other people, shouldn't she be held responsible for not having reported him? Do you see where all this leads?
No,
you're either going to get a whole bunch of false reports, or you're going to put more people. They're going to go deeper, further in, and never say anything.
Yeah, especially if George Soros pays $1 million to anybody who claims they were raped by Kavanaugh. I mean, if you want to pay $1 million per claim, you'll have lots of claims. I know girls who will have sex for a lot less than $1 million.
But I can think of one positive. I can take one positive thing out of this, because she's being publicly discredited. If this turns out that they throw out all this testimony from these 4 women that have got these BS stories and blah, 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 and it discredits some of these women who lie or exaggerate or wait past the statute of limitations or whatever it is, when there is a guy who gets falsely accused, he might have a stronger defense. That might be something that's positive out of this. Unfortunately, for the ones who are telling the truth, they're going to have to work harder to be believed. But how many times has a guy broken up with a woman and she'll scream rape or sexual harassment, and he'll either lose his job or get arrested just because she's mad that he broke up with her? It happens. It's bullshit. This is no different than that, honestly.
Oh, Vey. It's a crazy, screwed up world we live in. I haven't been watching the NFL at all. I'm not planning on watching the NFL. But I saw the first Lakers preseason game with LeBron, and it's not just LeBron James. They got a monster lineup this year. I mean, Rajon Rondo, Lance Stevenson, McGee. I mean, they've got some kick-ass players on that team, on that roster this year. I was like, shit, man. They're gonna fuck shit up in the Western Conference. And I don't know. I'm not a big. I don't think I'm gonna agree with the politics of LeBron James at all. But at least, as far as I know, nobody in the NBA is like pissing on the flag like they are in the NFL. I mean, I have been religiously not watching NFL games. But now that the Lakers got a new roster, I hope they don't go into politics too hard or anything, because I'd like to watch them win a few games because they've been losing for so long. But I saw the first preseason game, and they were not. It was that team is not. They don't know each other. They don't know how to play together yet, as far as being familiar with each other at all. and that's important for a team to be able to work together, and they just don't have that yet. But boy, I saw Lance Stevenson, just his ball handling. He wasn't even dribbling or moving. He just like leaned one way or the other and moved the ball around in his hands, and like he contorted the guy, the poor guy who was trying to defend him. Was he almost just fell over just trying to. He didn't know what he was going to do. And so, boy, when they actually get on the same page, that's going to be the Lakers are going to be a team for a change. I mean, they haven't been since Shaq and Kobe were going at it, or Magic and Kareem and Worthy were a thing. So, might actually look forward to some sports. I think is everybody just like totally not watching the NFL anymore, or is it just me?
No, we haven't watched in 2 years. We just watched college ball.
I did see that. I didn't watch it, but I saw there was a Michigan game on over the weekend.
Oh yeah, there's one every weekend.
So, are the Detroit Pistons a thing this year?
I don't know. I don't watch basketball.
Oh, well, I was a big basketball fan for a long time, and so I hope they're fun to watch this season, and there isn't any politics. I like sports to be just sports, and not have to worry about where victories are wonderful things and losses are terrible things, but none of it has to do with politics or anything important. What do they say about the sport? All the heroes are in the sports pages when there used to be papers. But
hey guys, I gotta jump out.
All right, Jared. Hey, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. See you later, HBS. See you later, Squid.
Yeah,
later.
God bless. I sent Dusty a link. I guess he's sleeping or something. So.
Yeah, I don't blame him. It's late.
Well, at the same time, I've moved my show for you guys to try and make it convenient. So like more than once. So I don't know. Keep moving it. But if I go on any earlier, you'll be at work. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So have you what's your opinion on Glocks? You hate them?
I mean, I haven't shot one I like yet, but
All right, that's fair.
I mean, you got to look. The very first thing that's a turnoff about Glocks is their numbering system. It's ridiculous. And then after that, it's all the hype. And then after that, it's just for me, it's ergonomics and stuff. It's just somebody else loves them. All right, fine. I hand that same person a 1911, and they'll say, "I hate this thing." I was like, "Okay, well, so you do you, I do me." So.
Well, I don't hate my 1911. I just don't like this. I like not having anything but the trigger safety. I mean, I don't. I think Glocks are easier to take apart, and put back together. I think than anything, pretty much as far as handguns go. I mean, pretty simple. You don't need a barrel bushing or. I think I did a show or two about this, but I like that it's a fully developed platform. So there's lots of accessories available for it. There's lots of spare parts available for it. They're easy to come by. They're not like, it's not like there'll be one guy in your city that can supply you the magazines for your weapon and that's it. You can buy Glock anything on the internet or anywhere because there's just you can buy spare barrels, spare slides, spare anything, or upgraded esoteric trigger connector bars or whatever. I think Strike Industries has some new stuff out. They have a front post that's a fiber optic front post that's supposed to look like a blade, and they've got a new flat trigger for it. So it's it's a fully developed platform, and it's not like something that's still a work in progress. And that's what I really want to avoid, is a work in progress. That something that's still the thing about having a fully developed platform is it's not an experiment anymore. It's not an experimental one. Like a Glock 17, it is what it is. It's not that they're done working on it. Basically, I mean, they may come up with a new generation, but it's basically is what it is. And you can get all the spare parts you need for not a lot of money, and on the internet, anywhere. It's not hard, and it's so it makes it it's a really nice, important thing about a weapon that you're going to invest, that you want to be reliable, that you're going to bet your life on, and that you want to invest real money in. So, because basically, I could sell my Glock for pretty much what I paid for it, minus $100 if I wanted to. But why would I want to? This is the Glock. I sleep with it. I mean, it's right by. I don't sleep with it. It's on the desk right where I sleep, so it's like within arm's reach. If there's ever a bump in the night and I need to defend myself, I'm ready to rock. Locked, blocked, and ready to rock. So, it's just it's one of those always go bang guns that I can rely on. Now, some people like 1911s better than Glocks. I like my 1911. It's got a more nice trigger, but there's more to a gun than a trigger. And a 1911 is also it is what it is, kind of a platform. You can get spare parts and stuff for it because it's been around since 1911, and or probably 1908. I don't know, but it's honestly, I really don't like the grip safety of a 1911, even though I have one. I really liked the Glock 30 when I was carrying it in Arizona. I like that it's a compact, but I generally like smaller pistols than full size ones. I mean, but and I like stubbies too, so I like my revolver. But I'm pretty happy with my particular Glock purchase, and whatever gun makes, this is America. You should be able to buy whatever gun you like. If you like Glocks, that's okay. If you like 1911s, lock and load, get whatever you want. This is America. You should be free to buy whatever gun you want. I'm never going to tell anybody if they want a 1911, buy a 1911, man. But as far as Glocks, it's a fully developed platform, and it's not an experiment. It's not an experimental. People always want to get the latest, greatest new thing, except in California now, because they have the whole micro stamping law where it's a whole nother mess, really bad gun law where they can't introduce any new pistols. So because any new platform has to have micro stamping, which it was contested on the basis that the law was contested on the basis, and I think in the Ninth Circuit, that for a law to be valid, the compliance shouldn't be an impossibility. And so, because there's never been a system developed that would actually micro stamp, I think, a bullet or a cartridge like twice if you fire it from a specific pistol. I mean, it's not that it's impossible, but the gun manufacturers aren't going to do it, and so basically it is impossible. So in any event, it's like the Ninth Circuit is just one of those fucked up circuits that needs to be broken up. So I was hoping that the Kavanaugh appointment would eventually get us a 5-4 majority instead of a 4-4 with a swing Kennedy as a swing vote. on the Supreme Court. But I guess we'll just have to see what happens if this thing drags on through past the midterms. Then there's a lot of cases that are going to be left hanging in the wind, because the SCOTUS hasn't heard of Second Amendment case since Heller and McDonald. Really, they just don't want to hear them. They haven't made it. They haven't granted a hearing to anything since Heller and McDonald, as far as I know. And with the Young versus Hawaii case coming up in the Ninth Circuit and the en banc appeal, I was hoping that if we could get this guy on the court, we might have a pro-gun 5-4 majority, get some more pro-gun rulings. But yeah, it's Second Amendment is still kind of hanging by a thread, so there's work to do out there for protecting our freedom, getting out there and voting for all the pro-gun candidates, even though some of them suck. But they don't suck as bad as the National Socialist Party, known as the Democrat Party. Anyway, I'm going to check the external really quick one more time, and I'll probably wrap this show because we've been going on for over an hour, I think. Let's see here. Externals. Why change the subject? Because from what to what? You got Deadpool 2. I don't know. The Deadpool 1, I thought that was a Clint Eastwood movie, but I guess it's not. All right. Just recorded which movie on TCM? Operation Eichmann? Okay, I'll type something in the external. Here is me. Yeah, we're not getting too much viewership today for some reason. Who knows? But I think I covered most everything I really wanted to talk about for Glocktober. I didn't really pick it to because I wanted to talk about Glocks. It just happens to be the 1st of Glocktober today. So, and Glock is my bump in the night gun. It's right by where I sleep. So if somebody breaks into my home, I can defend myself, and I know this gun is going to go bang. And I should be able to defeat any threat with it. So that's how I feel about it. It's a good weapon. And if other people like different guns, that's cool. It's a free country, but I like that it's a fully developed platform. Anyway, we're going to wrap up this show tonight. Thanks for tuning in, Steve, and anybody else that's watching. And hopefully we'll see you all next week, and we'll have some good news. We had some great news on the economy if you're long stocks. The NAFTA 2 deal, for lack of a better term, the Mexico-Canada deal looks like it's going to be agreed to. It has to go through Congress and all, but the basic deal is going to be improved, and all the stock market went flying up today, which isn't necessarily good for cryptos because that's basically a counterplay to the banking system still functioning. So it is what it is. Everybody take it easy out there. Remember, you were born free. Have the courage to live your life that way, and we'll see you next week.